All right, welcome back to VP Culture Emotional Science. This is lesson number 2, and let's dive into this lesson. This lesson is about what is an emotion. So we're going to be talking about this for the entire time, so we better figure out what an emotion is specifically. So, can we identify what an emotion is? That's the big question here. Can you define what it is, and can you identify it when you see one, when you feel one in yourself, and when you see it in others? So we're going to give you a simple model to help reduce emotions from this complex sort of like, oh my gosh, what is all this stuff, to the point where most leaders, managers just like, oh, I don't want to deal with that. That's crazy stuff. It's not crazy stuff. It's stuff that we all experience every single day. And there's a simple way to look at it. So this is a model that has been used since the 1980s. So it's been over 40 years of being tested scientifically, and it's found itself to be a very effective model of dealing with what is an emotion. So it simply has two axes. So it's excited physically or down physically. That's a pretty easy judgment to understand. And so I always help people to start focusing on this axis. Do I have energy, or am I tired? Do I feel like I'm going to get up and go, or I feel like, oh, I'm just wiped out? Pretty easy to understand. So that's the first primary plane of your emotional world, and a very simple world to just ask people about. Like, hey, are you feeling energized right now? Hey, how are your batteries? Are they kind of worn out? Hey, you look a little bit tired right now. Those are some very simple questions you could do that don't offend people, and because usually people can access that information pretty easily. Like, yeah, I'm feeling kind of tired. No, I'm doing all right. Had a tough morning, but still have some energy. Had some good lunch, and I'm back. I'm bouncing back. So the energy axis: excited physically, down physically. Now the other axis is a little bit more complicated: positive thoughts, negative thoughts. So negative on this side, positive on this side. So this is the realm of emotions. If you can just figure out these two planes, like, so what did you think about it? What did you think about this? Is this a good thing or a bad thing? So let me give you some examples here on this chart. So you could be excited physically and have positive thinking. That means you're happy, you're joyful, you're moving towards something. Excited. So I might say, I'm excited. But you could also be excited physically. You have physical energy and think this is bad. So you might be anxious. You might be fearful. You might be angry. So angry is actually a state of high energy, but this isn't good. It's a state that is engaging you to try to push away something that you don't think is good, or something that's not fair. So you're angry. So that's high physical energy and negative thinking. You see how simple this works out? And if you don't have a ton of high physical energy, but it's positive, it might be just like, hey, it's good. It's just, I'm not super excited, but generally I'm positive about this. Now, what if you're down physically? And let's start off with the negative. This is going to be like, I'm feeling sad. Usually sadness drains the energy out of you. You don't go like, hey, I'm sad, I think I'll go out and run a mile. It's not the way it goes. Usually you can sense that you're down energy, and you're not liking that. If you get into full-on low energy that's chronic and it's not good, you're going to end up being depressed. So depressed, grief, sadness, sorrow, those type of things. But what if you're positive about feeling down? And you're thinking, positive about feeling down? This is like you're feeling chill. You're feeling relaxed. You're on the beach with your Mai Tai. So you're just chilling in the lounge chair. You're feeling relaxed. You're not super energized. You're calm. You're peaceful. You're like, oh, this is great. So that would be joy, peace, more chill, relaxation, satisfaction, all of these different things. So that kind of gives you an idea of how this chart works. And we're going to be diving deeper into each one of these different axes here as we explore what an emotion is in greater depth. So you need to focus on your emotional state. How are you feeling? So you need to take this part of your brain needs to become an observer not enmeshed in the whole emotional process, and it is an observer. You can kind of detach yourself and go, oh, okay, so I'm feeling that emotional energy, and I think it's a good thing. We don't typically do that. We just sort of say, I'm happy, I'm excited, I'm feeling, pumped about this thing. So that's generally typically what we do. The other thing about focusing is we're moving into focus and not control. Not control. So the control is like, oh, I have to stop this emotion. Oh, I have to. No, just notice it, observe it. Those are some other words. Perceive it. It's all about using your sense of like what's going on. Because remember, a lot of your reactive emotions are just going to happen in your life, and you don't have a complete control over that. So it's better to observe and then decide what you want to do after you observe and focus on it. Great. Okay. So what we're not talking about here, the workplace emotional world we're not trying to promote sort of this super reactive emotionalism. Like we have to run around with drama all day long, reacting and crying and sharing all our feelings and everything like that. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about getting into emotional therapy sessions with each other. It's not about that. It's just simply identifying where am I going. The workplace is usually a little bit more simple, plain. And where am I going? How am I feeling? Can I move from here to there? And those types of things. We're going to take an observer status, and then we're going to take a secondary look later on in the chapter is how to be proactive emotionally and move towards your values. So there'll be a bit of a pivot that happens, like away from just being reactive, understanding the reactive world situation. It's giving us some information, and then moving into the how do I act out of my values rather than just freaking out and responding to every emotional situation in this kind of cathartic, oh no, we just have to be emotional all the time. This is a more emotionally intelligent response where you're not feeling emotions. You're allowing yourself to feel them within a non-judgmental way, but then you're observing so that you can move beyond just like whatever the current reaction might be. So that's critical. Moving from reactivity and sort of craziness, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a very emotionally intelligent approach that allows you to sort of not control, but master the world of emotions.